Ethan sat in his small workshop, staring at the holographic screen in front of him. The auction had ended hours ago, and now he had won his latest lot. Space junk, they had called it. Scrap metal, broken satellites, and maybe some rare minerals if he was lucky. For someone like Ethan, every little piece of space debris could be sold for a profit. He had been buying and selling for years, and although he wasn't rich, he survived comfortably. Today, he thought, he had luck on his side. The crate had just arrived, a large metal box with reinforced locks and strange markings on the sides. It hovered silently in the transport bay of his warehouse. Ethan wiped his hands on his overalls, his mind already racing with possibilities. Maybe there was a small alien artifact inside. Something valuable he could sell for a fortune. Maybe it was just useless scrap. But he had a good feeling this time. His instincts rarely failed him. He activated the crate's lock sequence, listening to the quiet whirring of machinery as the seals disengaged. With a final click, the crate slowly opened, and a soft, warm light spilled into the dim workshop. Ethan froze. He had expected metal, wires, maybe even a glowing mineral or two, but not this. Inside the crate was a girl. Or at least she looked like a girl. She was small, maybe 12 or 13 by human standards, with large almond-shaped eyes that glowed faintly in the low light. Her skin shimmered with faint patterns like a constellation frozen in motion, and her hair floated slightly as if underwater. She was staring at him wide-eyed and trembling. Ethan took a step back, his mind racing. This can't be real, he muttered, rubbing his eyes. The girl blinked at him slowly and raised a small hand. A soft sound, almost like a hum, resonated in the room. Then suddenly images flashed in his mind. Dark corridors, strange symbols, and shadowy figures chasing her. He stumbled backward, nearly tripping over a crate. The girl's eyes widened even more, and Ethan realized she wasn't speaking English, or any language he knew. Somehow she was showing him images directly, a stream of thoughts and feelings he could understand without words. Fear, urgency, danger. Someone was after her, and quickly. Ethan's mind raced. "Okay, think," he whispered to himself. "You can't just call the authorities. They'll take her away. Who knows what they'll do to her?" He could see that much from the flashes of her mind. And the auction? The people who sold her, were they involved in this too? He crouched down, trying to appear non-threatening. "It's okay," he said softly, though he wasn't sure if she could understand him. "You're safe. For now." The girl tilted her head, watching him carefully, her glowing eyes searching his face. He could feel her fear, her uncertainty. But there was also intelligence there. She was not just a child. She was someone important. Ethan pulled a chair over and sat down, keeping his hands visible. He didn't know what to do next, but hiding her was the only option. If anyone found out he had an alien in his warehouse, trouble would come fast. And this wasn't just any alien. It was clear from the energy radiating from her that she was special. Very special. He rummaged through his supplies, pulling out some blankets and food rations he kept for himself during long nights at work. He placed them carefully near the crate, hoping she would eat or rest. The girl cautiously stepped out, her movements fluid and cautious, like she had never touched solid ground before. She sniffed at the blanket, her glowing eyes scanning the workshop, then looked back at Ethan. "Okay," Ethan said, taking a deep breath. "We need a plan. First, we need a name. I can't just call you Space Girl." She blinked at him and an image formed in his mind. A bright star, a spiral, a small word he could only understand as Lyra. "Lyra," he said. "That's your name now." Lyra tilted her head, and for a moment Ethan thought she was smiling. At least that was the closest approximation he could see. She didn't speak, but the fear seemed to fade just a little. He spent the next few hours studying her, trying to understand what she could do. When he reached out to touch her hand, she recoiled slightly, then lifted her own and a soft glow spread from her palm. Objects around her, tools, small boxes, even a loose panel on the wall began to float gently. Ethan stumbled backward, his jaw dropping. "You can move things with your mind?" he asked. Lyra nodded, her glowing eyes flickering with emotion. She was not only intelligent, she was powerful, and someone wanted her badly enough to come after her. Ethan realized the auction lot was never meant for a human buyer. She had been stolen or smuggled into the market for profit, and he had just accidentally rescued her. This was bigger than anything he had ever faced. He needed to act fast. The next morning, Ethan rigged a few security measures in his warehouse, automated turrets, tripwires, and hidden cameras. He needed time to figure out what to do next. He also scavenged a few old ships and vehicles, making sure they were ready to move at a moment's notice. Lyra followed him closely, floating beside him, fascinated by the human machines. She seemed to understand more than he could guess, mimicking his movements and absorbing everything around her. That night, a warning came. A ship appeared in the sky above his warehouse. Sleek, black, and menacing, it hovered silently before landing. Ethan's heart pounded. He had no choice. He grabbed a small rifle and a few grenades, not expecting to use them but prepared for anything. The warehouse door slid open and shadowy figures entered. They wore advanced armor, moving like ghosts. Ethan ducked behind a crate, whispering to Lyra, "Stay close. Don't let them see you." She nodded, glowing faintly, almost as if she understood his words completely. The intruders moved through the warehouse, scanning every corner. Ethan held his breath, counting their steps. Lyra raised her hand and a soft barrier of energy surrounded them, making them invisible to the intruders' sensors for a few moments. Ethan marveled at her instinctive use of her powers. She was not only smart, she was creative. When the agents finally passed, Ethan realized that this was just the beginning. Whoever these people were, they would not give up easily. Lyra was too valuable to them, and now, by choosing to protect her, Ethan had made himself a target as well. Ethan and Lyra spent the next few days preparing. He taught her how to hide, how to move silently, and how to use her powers subtly. In return, Lyra taught him things no human could understand. Glimpses of her home planet, images of alien cities, and ideas that stretched the limits of his imagination. Ethan began to see her not as a child, but as a partner. A very unusual, very powerful partner. But the threat loomed closer. One night he saw lights flickering in the distance, another ship approaching. This time they were faster, more organized. Ethan's hands shook as he loaded his weapons. Lyra floated beside him, eyes glowing fiercely, ready for whatever would come next. "This is it," Ethan whispered. "We run, we fight, or we get caught. Are you ready?" Lyra nodded. Ethan felt a strange calm wash over him. Somehow he knew that whatever happened next, they would face it together. And he realized something terrifying and thrilling. He had no idea what he had just gotten himself into. The first part of their adventure was ending, but the real journey, the one that would test every bit of human cunning and alien power, was only beginning. Ethan had thought he was bidding on space junk. Instead, he had won an ally, a friend, and a partner in a game much larger than he could imagine. And somewhere in the stars, those who had stolen Lyra were closing in, unaware that they had just underestimated a human's courage and an alien's power. As the warehouse lights flickered and the hum of distant engines filled the night, Ethan gripped his rifle and whispered, "Let them come. We're ready." Lyra's glow intensified, and for the first time Ethan felt a thrill, not fear. The universe had just opened up in ways he could never have predicted, and he was ready to meet it head-on. And so, their story began. A human who thought he was lucky with space junk, and an alien girl who was more than anyone had imagined. Together they were about to change everything. The journey away from the palace was harder than Ethan had expected. Lyra clung to her child, her small fingers gripping his greenish hand, and every so often she looked back at the glowing towers of her home city. She had been rebellious, sharp-tongued, and sure that no one could understand her, but now, as she walked beside a human who had become her protector, she realized how fragile her life had been. Ethan carried the child in his arms for long stretches, checking the little one's breathing, adjusting blankets, and making quiet jokes to keep him calm. The child's laughter, soft and rare, was a sound that made even the alien wilderness seem less intimidating. Ethan had never been a father, and yet he found himself learning quickly how to calm a frightened child, how to soothe aches, and how to read the silent language of fear and trust. They reached the edge of the city and entered a dense forest of luminous trees. The forest was alive with alien sounds, creatures chirping in frequencies humans could barely hear, plants that shimmered with light, and streams that glowed faintly under the alien moons. Ethan guided Lyra carefully. He was a human in an alien world, but he relied on observation and intuition to move safely. Lyra, despite her usual rebelliousness, followed closely. For the first time, she felt a strange mix of relief and trust. At night, they made camp in a small clearing. Ethan gathered wood-like alien plants to start a fire that gave off gentle heat without smoke. Lyra hesitated at first, unsure if the fire would be safe for her child, but Ethan explained every step. They shared a simple meal of alien fruits and protein bars Ethan had brought from the palace, laughing quietly as the child played nearby. "You know," Lyra said after a moment, "I never thought I'd like this. Being outside away from the palace, with a human who doesn't look down on me." Ethan looked up from arranging their sleeping mats. "I don't look down on anyone, Lyra. You're brave, clever, and, if I may say, stronger than most people I've ever met. That's what matters, not appearances or titles." Her lips twitched, half smile, half grimace. "I'm not used to people saying things like that without meaning to manipulate me." "I don't manipulate," Ethan said simply. "I act. That's all I've done since I met your father, and I'll keep acting to protect you and your child." The night passed quietly, and by dawn they were on the move again. They had to reach a human settlement on the edge of this alien territory, a place where they could find supplies, information, and safety. The path was not easy. Alien predators roamed the forests, drawn to movement and sound. Ethan taught Lyra how to move silently, how to read the wind, and how to spot subtle signs of danger. Slowly, the princess began to absorb his lessons, her natural cleverness blending with human survival skills. On the third day, they encountered a patrol of alien rebels, the same group that had attacked King Thalor. Ethan realized immediately that they were being followed. He instructed Lyra to keep her child close and remain quiet while he stepped forward, using gestures and calm voice to negotiate. The rebels, suspicious of a human moving with an alien princess, lowered their weapons slightly when Ethan demonstrated his medical insignia and offered to help an injured member. It was a delicate balance. Ethan treated their wounds while carefully steering the conversation away from the palace or political matters. Lyra watched, astonished, as he worked. Not only was he saving lives, but he was also negotiating safety in a world she had always thought impossible to navigate without brute force. "You're amazing," she whispered when they were out of danger. "You can save lives and handle dangerous situations without even drawing a weapon." "I do what I must," Ethan replied, "and I learn fast. Humans adapt." Lyra's respect for him grew, as did a sense of admiration she had never allowed herself to feel for anyone. She began to see that courage and intelligence mattered more than beauty, rebellion, or status. For her child, she realized, Ethan was becoming not just a protector but a role model. When they reached the human settlement, they were welcomed cautiously. The humans had heard rumors of the alien princess traveling with a human medic, and suspicion lingered. Yet Ethan's calm demeanor and practical skills soon earned their trust. He repaired damaged equipment, assisted local medics with alien ailments, and demonstrated that humans and aliens could cooperate effectively. Lyra, initially shy and unsure, began to interact with the human residents. She observed their ways, learned their customs, and slowly let go of some of her defensive behavior. The child thrived in this new environment, healthy, happy, and curious about the humans who were so different yet so kind. The peace they found was temporary. Word reached them that a faction of alien rebels, still loyal to a strict royal code, was moving to reclaim Lyra. They saw her as a shame to the throne for her rebelliousness and for leaving with a human. Ethan prepared for what he knew could become a confrontation. He trained Lyra in basic self-defense, taught the child simple safety routines, and devised strategies to keep them all safe. When the rebels arrived, Ethan and Lyra were ready. Ethan used his knowledge of alien behavior, combined with human ingenuity, to outmaneuver them. He set up traps, created decoys, and used communication techniques to confuse and redirect the attackers. Lyra, once rebellious but untrained, moved with surprising agility and courage, following Ethan's instructions perfectly. The confrontation ended without serious harm. The rebels retreated, stunned by the unexpected cooperation between human and alien. Lyra looked at Ethan, a mixture of awe and gratitude in her eyes. "I never thought I could do that. We did that," she said, her voice soft, almost disbelieving. Ethan smiled, his calm demeanor never faltering. "We did it together. Courage isn't just about fighting. It's about acting wisely and staying calm under pressure. As the days turned into weeks, their life began to settle into a rhythm. Ethan continued his medical work. Lyra began teaching local children, and her child explored the settlement with energy and curiosity. The bond between human and alien grew stronger. Lyra's rebelliousness softened into resourcefulness. Her sharp tongue became humor. Her distrust of others evolved into cautious trust. One evening, Lyra sat with Ethan by a quiet stream, watching the glowing water ripple under alien moons. "I used to think I had no value outside the palace," she said quietly. "Everyone judged me for how I looked or how I acted. But now, with you, I feel like I matter, like my child matters, like we have a chance." Ethan nodded, looking at her with respect. "You do matter, Lyra. You always mattered. You just never had someone to see it clearly before. That's all." Lyra smiled, a real genuine smile. She reached out and touched his hand lightly. For a moment, words were unnecessary. The trust, respect, and growing affection between them said enough. The king watched from afar, aware of the news and proud in silence. His daughter, once considered a problem to be managed, had found safety, purpose, and perhaps even happiness. Ethan, the human he had once doubted, had proven himself a bridge between worlds, a protector, a teacher, and a family to his daughter and her child. As months passed, they began to plan for the future. Ethan envisioned a settlement where humans and aliens could live and work together, learning from each other, sharing knowledge, and fostering peace. Lyra became a key figure in this vision, her intelligence and insight helping shape a new community. The child thrived in this environment, learning both human and alien ways, a living symbol of unity. The journey had started with a simple act of courage, saving a life, but it had grown into something far greater. Ethan had saved a king, protected a child, and helped a rebellious princess find her place in the universe. Lyra, once lost and misunderstood, had discovered strength, love, and purpose. And together, they had created a family that spanned species, cultures, and worlds. Ethan knew challenges would continue. There would be those who opposed this union, those who could not understand the bond between human and alien. But he also knew something stronger. Courage, intelligence, and compassion could overcome fear, prejudice, and danger. And as he looked at Lyra and her child, safe and thriving, he felt a deep sense of peace. The alien world around them shimmered with endless possibilities. Rivers glowed, trees whispered in the wind, and the settlement hummed with life. Ethan, Lyra, and her child stood together, ready to face whatever came next. They were more than survivor, princess, and medic. They were a family, united not by law or title, but by choice, bravery, and love. And in the quiet moments when the alien moons rose and cast soft light over the glowing city, Ethan realized that life had given him far more than he had ever expected. A human had walked into an alien world and, through courage and compassion, had created a legacy that would echo across worlds. The adventure was far from over, but for now they were safe together, and stronger than any challenge that might come.